Let's go!
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And today's show, we have a special guest. You may have seen this man's face before on previous episodes of the Off the Ball podcast. I have my friend, Off the Ball Network alum, formerly now of No Ceilings, Stephen Gillaspie. Stephen, my friend, welcome back to the Off the Ball podcast.
Hey, dude, like Chris, it's so awesome to be able to be back on a show with you, man. It's been way too long. You mentioned, Off the Ball alum, part of No Ceilings now, man, but Off the Ball always has a special place in my heart, man. Y'all are family. This is where I got my sea legs underneath me. This is where I got to network and meet a whole bunch of folk. And I'm just, dude, I am humbled. I am honored. I'm thrilled to death to be back on your show. Chris, it's been way too long, man. I miss you. I love you. Glad to be back.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Happy to have you back on the show. And then, like I said, it has been a while, but finally the world's finally aligned, right? And we were able to get back and do what we've done probably billions of times and talk ball and talk, scouting and all that. But first, man, how you been? Like I said, it's how have you been, man? I want to first say this. Just think about this, how it started. An email, right? I think I still have the email saved. An email. Hey, man, you reached out to me. This is when I was first, starting to do a lot of getting to the NBA draft stuff and all that. And you reached out and, say, hey, I'd love to have you on my show. And I said, hell yeah. I love that. Whenever it's someone reaches out to me to have them on the show, I take that as, that's awesome. It just is awesome when someone says that. So yeah, found time and all that. And we made it happen. And from there, we build a relationship and all that. And it's come from an email and that to now, and to see the growth you've made, from everything we've done to now being with No Ceilings, and you guys are absolutely crushing it, doing some of the best draft content out in the biz. I mean, that's, you got the newsletter I'm always reading on, every day you guys post it and all that, and you get so much information, and you guys are just different from a lot of just regular NBA draft content. But it's just dope seeing your growth, bro. Like we've come a long way from just that email, an email, and to now. Like seeing your growth. And I say this about a lot of guys who've been with the network and all that and have gone on to bigger and better things. And like, it's dope seeing that, even if it, off the ball, we're like the G League and we just, and you guys take that next step. I feel like that's cool. And glad that I could be a part of your journey. Off the Ball Network could be a part of your journey. And, it's dope seeing your success and everything going on, brother.
Yeah, man, that means the world to me. And again, like, it's weird because I wanted to have you on a show because back when it was the Say It Again podcast had you on, and they were doing like an NBA draft, and I was like, all right, I'm preparing to be on the show. I've never really been asked to do this.
Oh, right.
Before.
You did my second. Yeah. I think you did like my second round, something, whatever the draft.
It was a draft type. It was like a co-draft that like you picked and then I picked. And I went to listen to what you did, and I was like, I like this dude, man. Let me have him on my show. Fast forward a little bit. I kind of like made my pitch to try to be a part of the Off the Ball Network because I liked a lot of the dudes that you guys had on. And, bing, bang, boom, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm doing a lot of shows with y'all, started my own show, started my own draft show with you guys. And then, life happens, man. And, you, as cool as you were about me stepping in, you were just as cool about me stepping out. And, things lined up.
I did shed a tear. And I'm not even, hey, everyone listening, when you listen to this, I'm not even joking. When Stephen gave me the news that he was leaving, I was obviously happy for you because you're on to you're onto a bigger platform and all. And but I was like, that one, it hit the feels. It hit the field, Stephen, when you left. But obviously, you were doing something because the draft stuff really started rolling for you, and you were really, and I was really happy for you. And like I said, it's dope when you see people go on to do things that they love and they're passionate about. And like I said, some other networks may be like they may be upset. No, I was upset, but they may take it the wrong way, like, oh, that was so stupid, blah 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 blah, blah, and they can get.
Oh, they're out there. Trust me. Yeah, we see them.
I've seen it when you see it and you hear. I'm like, they're like, I was upset, but I was happy though. Like once I got over that upset part, I was like, oh, he came from like just an email, an email, and look at him now. Like if you don't see that as a content creator or someone who runs, an independent network and all that, and you don't see someone grow and go on to bigger, better things, like to me, some people I've seen take that like, oh man, I don't care, like whatever, like, oh, look at him, oh, he thinks he. No, I take that as a badge of honor. Like we were a something that we were a part of, something that helped you grow, and we've had other people that have left and gone on to do pretty cool things. And I like I said, I got upset. Yes, I was upset. I was upset when you left.
That's real, man.
And that was, and
hey, family gets upset at each other.
Yeah, yes, and it's just like it was a family, because that's what we build at the network, right? We build that family atmosphere, and it's like, oh man, but it's kind of like when you see your son, your daughter go to college and all that, and it's like, oh man, they're growing up, and that's how I wound up looking at it after. I was like, oh, he's growing up. And it's cool to see that.
My first piece at No Ceilings was like a co-introductory piece with Maxwell Bombaku, who you've done work with before previously too.
And that's cool to see him too. Like that's another thing too, like to see his growth and all that. Like same thing. Like he was on our show. I think he may have been one of the first podcasts when we were doing the draft show. I think that's maybe one of the first podcasts either. And then after that, like he kept going. He kept and then it just went from, and even with Draft Deeper and all that. Like I remember having Nathan. Him on, like with Nate, like when early in his process when he had like 40 followers, and I'm just like, why does he have only 40 followers? Like there's people with thousands, and I'm like, I'm sorry, those people with thousands don't know what this guy knows that has 40. And now you see his growth, and everyone at the net at Ceilings. I've been able to work with every single person on that network, and see that growth and what you guys have become now. But it's a lot of people at the top, CEOs, whatever, would probably be upset that a person like you would leave. And like I said, I was, but they would probably hate and they would be mad and like, oh, whatever. I don't care about his success, whatever he does. I looked at it as that's dope. And it puts it makes the network look good, because it's like, oh, they produce it. Hey, if what I love the network to be Barstool or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Of course, right? Of course. Who wouldn't, right? But when I'm getting like referrals, like people like, hey man, so what about that? I was like, oh, I find that to be just as cool when people like, oh, we can go through that system. It's like the minor leagues, like, oh, can we go through that and we get better? And then we can get bigger opportunities. So if I'm like that breeding system, if we're the breeding system to get you to that next level, that to me is awesome. So to see you and others be able to do that is really cool. So, enough with the sob stories and all that. I know we just, but I haven't had Stephen on in a while, so I had to just say that on the air.
Gotta catch up.
People listening, because we know a lot of your people that are No Ceilings are probably going to listen to, and a lot of my people, but just understand that, that's seeing people's growth. Like, and I said that with Mo when Mo the 100, like that's dope to see someone from the beginning of their process and to see, and it's not the end, obviously you still have a lot more, and I have more, and off the one and all that, everyone, we still got so much more to do, right?
A lot of room at the table for everyone.
There's a lot of room at the table to eat, and that's been the cool thing about the Off-Ball Network, is we were able to do it just from starting off from nothing. They didn't start off with it. We started off just doing, and we were able to grow that and help others get better. I think that's the most underrated thing, is being able to help work as a team. We worked as a team, and everyone grew. And if it leads to bigger opportunities, go shoot. So that's been the cool part about all this, and I'm glad we're back and doing this. And so obviously we're here because we're going to talk prospects. We're going to talk scouting.
Let's do it.
All that. We're going to get into the draft. This is my first kind of draft episode of this year. And I'm going to do a lot more, guys, because I didn't get to do that much last year, and it kind of upset me. And Stephen knew. I got a lot of texts. I texted Stephen a lot. I'm sad. I can't do a show. I can't talk about this guy. I can't talk about that guy. But we're going to do that. So, but first, Stephen, scouting.
Yeah.
Scouting can be a lot of things. But for you, I want you to tell me and people listening, what's been the biggest thing you've learned from the first time you evaluated a prospect a few years back to now? What has been the biggest thing you've learned? Because I know I've learned a lot from the 2020 class to this year's class. Like I've probably learned night and day about evaluating and all that. What's been the biggest takeaway you've learned from the first time to now, being with no ceilings and all that, and just all the stuff you have learned accumulated throughout the years?
Well, so I used to run, Breaking the Game was my show that I did on Off the Ball. And, a number of different co-hosts that I've had, shout out Ken, he's still with Off the Ball, and, worked with him. And my favorite part of the entire NBA cycle, and Chris, this, there's the NBA never sleeps. Like there's always something to talk about. There's drama in the season, there's drama in the off season, coaching, players, trades, free agencies, that whole biz. My favorite part of the entire NBA season was the draft, because that's when we would get some really smart dudes on. That's when I started meeting guys like Nathan and Corey and the rest of the gang. That's when I started meeting these guys and listening to them talk about players. And I would do the whole, let me get on YouTube real quick and check out this guy and see how he's doing. Let me look up who's leading in scoring, who's leading in rebounding and stuff like that. And bring on dudes that are way smarter than me. And that motivated me, dude. Like, because I would say, well, I like basketball. I watch basketball. I feel like I know what works and what doesn't. Let me just apply what I know about the NBA to college ball. And there's so much nuance. There's things that you don't know about these players, right? Like where they come from, injuries, where they were originally slated to come, to how talented they were expected to be coming into the year. And maybe they're not performing at the level now due to various reasons that I don't even know about, and
Yep.
You don't really know these players if you're trying to do a cram session. And, fast forward, I'm continuing and I'm really starting to dive in deep at Off the Ball and exclusively doing draft content. And I shift away from the NBA. And that's when I'm starting to be like, dude, having a board of like 70 players is embarrassing. Like if I'm going to specifically do draft stuff, if I'm only watching 70 dudes, like, and then somebody gets drafted that I don't know about, I'm like, how am I a draft show? And I'm not even watching these sleeper dudes. Now I'm having hundreds and hundreds of prospects on a board. And the first thing that you have to learn as a prospect or as an analyst is that you really don't know anything. Like the moment you think that you got it figured out is like when you're in the most trouble. Like you have to obviously have some understanding of like concepts and fundamentals and things of that nature. But when you talk about a prospect with somebody else, like Chris, you and I can see the same dude, and you'd be like, man, this dude's got a sick handle, like he can shoot. And I'm like, yeah, but he sucks in the paint and he can't defend at all. And he's a wing. Like that's important. Like there's so much nuance behind prospecting. And like something that I'm learning, I started learning last year and into this year is there's a difference between watching a dude on film and going to see him live in a game, like watching him go through his warm-ups, watching him like interact with his teammates and coaches when there's media timeouts and things like that, watching him after the game and how his demeanor is, watching him, doing drills and stuff before the cameras are even
exactly.
Like,
yes. That's the most underrated aspect.
Yeah. And I know that there's like a sect of draft Twitter that, last year, this year, were like, I think going to a game in person is overrated. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but like you can't discount like the value. And like, if I'm confused on a guy, we talk about this at No Ceilings all the time. If I'm confused about a guy, that's the one I need to go watch in person, because like maybe his shot's different in a game than it is in warmups. Like, is he forcing something new that we don't know about? Like, seeing a player live and talking with them, if you can, like, you learn so much. There's a lot of nuance to scouting that like I'm still learning a lot this year. Like, this is the most invested in the scouting that I've been in my entire, you know, podcasting career. And I'm still learning stuff, dude.
Yeah. And like you said, in watching in person, you get to see the things that you're not going to see on tape necessarily, because they're going to pan to the game, right? They're going to, you know, they're just going to focus on the in-game stuff, but you're going to see the little stuff, interaction with I think people might not think that's a big deal, but like to scouts and to GMs and people evaluating, that is a huge deal. How you interact with teammates, your body language after you've missed a few shots, your body language after you make good shots, you know, just your overall demeanor, you know, before tip off and all that. Those things.
Yeah, because you're not drafting their box plus minus. You're not drafting their 3-point attempt rate. You're not, like, you are, but you're also drafting a human being and a character, like someone with character, you know, unfortunately sometimes without. Like, I just got done doing an interview, Chris, and I liked this prospect before I even spoke to him. Talking to him afterwards and like what influences him, like what he does when he's not playing basketball, you know, how he is as a teammate, how receptive he is to coaching, how satisfied where he is at this point in the year. Like, learning character behind the player is so vital. Yeah.
And if you have an opportunity to even talk to that prospect and just get to speak to them one-on-one, like we're doing draft profile shows that I've done in the past, like getting that one-on-one interaction, you get that feel. And especially if you just vibing and just having a good conversation, it's not just strictly, oh, well, you know, your plus minus against Arkansas Valley State was, you know, plus. So how did you feel? You know, it's not just that. When you can actually talk to a player and just talk, not just let's just talk, because, you know, you need that, because that's what's, you know, when you go to a meeting, they're going to just talk. Hey, let's just talk and all that. So I've seen that with a lot of prospects, and I've had some prospects that I've had on that it didn't go vibe well. And then you see that it's kind of translated to and it's like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. You hear it and you're like, oh, no, we should be good. You know, I'm good in there. I can make a conversation. We're not going to just talk about your ball. We're going to talk about this and all that. And it doesn't go well. You know, so it's worked both ways and all that. So it's just, there's so much that goes into. And like you said, we could watch the same exact player, Steve, the same exact player, right?
It happens all the time.
And we could see two different things. And I think it's important to not just like, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, okay, I'm seeing it this way. Okay, he's seeing, like, and we've done this plenty of times. Me and you see someone and you're like, okay, well, you see it that way, but Chris, you know, this, I was like, okay, instead of me just, you know, pushing it away, it's like, okay, what is Steven looking at that I'm missing? Because maybe I'm missing, maybe I need to see it from a different perspective. Perspective, like seeing something from a different, okay. And they're like, okay, this is how Steven's looking at it. This is how I'm looking at it. Okay. Is it in the middle? Okay, maybe, you know, okay. And then we figure it out there. I think that's also important. Is like, and I'm sure you do it with your guys there, that you guys take information. Okay, you know, Corey sees it this way, you know, Nate sees it this way. And it's like, okay, all right.
They're usually always right, Corey and Nate.
And Corey, you know, Corey's everywhere too, man. He's a beast and all that. But like,
he's brilliant. Yeah,
he's a mastermind. But you guys, I think that's important too, to see it from other people's that you know, and like you mentioned before, sometimes we don't know enough, and then we have to speak to something like Rafael Barlow. I thought I knew ball. I thought I knew about until I had him on. I was like, oh, I don't know nothing. Twitch. He's talking about twitchiness. I remember with him with Obi Toppin, and I was hype about Obi and all that. And he's like, he's a good athlete, but he's not as good as the athlete you think. I was like, what are you talking about? He jumps out the gym. He's like, yeah, but he's not twitchy.
Hip flexibility.
And that's when I learned, Steven, about hip flexibility and twitchiness. I was like, oh my God. And now you see it now in the league, and you're like, and every time I talk about Obi Toppin with any type, you know, any Knick fan and all, I'm like, but he's not twitchy enough. He's that stiff and all that, you know. And I was like, I remember learning that from, and it's just soaking in that information.
Man. Like, he's real big on the quick twitch, vertical pop. I'll never forget that light connection of words that he kind of.
Yes, and I learned so much from that conversation. But learning from others, understanding how they see the game too. Like I mentioned before, me and you, how many times we were watching a guy and we see it differently. But it's like, okay, Stephen, all right, you're seeing it that way, I'm seeing it this way. Let's figure out, okay, is it in between? Is it more your way? Is it more my way? And I was, okay, all right, Stephen, all right, I think you're right, because I think he could work better. And it's like that understanding and all that is very important in scouting and all that. But it's just learning.
The more humble you can be too, like you can be confident in what you feel, right?
Yes.
But having the humility to say, maybe I'm wrong. You know, like,
and it's okay.
This other person's really smart. Yes, like they may have more experience in a different field than I do. Like Corey with coaching, like he coaches kids. I don't.
Yeah. So
like he looks at it through a coach's eye. Exactly. You know, Tyler Rucker has experience, you know, overseas coaching, and he worked with G League. So he has a different way of evaluating than I do. So like getting that different connection and collaborating with people who view things differently, like that's good as a collective holistically. But that's how like growth happens across the board within our community. And then like when we talk, you know, with folks like you, Chris, or anyone else who cares to have us on and dish about prospects, that's the thing about draft Twitter that I love, is like when you can come together respectfully and dialogue about a player.
Keyword, respectfully. Sometimes it doesn't get that way. Yeah, you have to have respect. It gets
unfortunately wild. Not. It'd be like that sometimes, but you know,
it definitely does.
But that's how growth happens, you know.
Yeah, 100%, and that's important to have that dialogue and have that respectful dialogue and understand. Okay, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm just seeing it differently. And if other people are saying like this way, it's like, okay, maybe I gotta look at the tape again and watch and just get more information and all that. And that's how I've approached it, because I've been wrong plenty of times. And I'm like, okay, why was I wrong? Or what am I seeing differently? And then I see it from, you know, someone says, well, look at it from this perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay.
He plays this position. I feel that these values at this position mean more than it does at a different one, you know, or he's older, he's younger. Like some people are really big into the developmental curve. Some people are big into wingspan. Some people are big into, you know, international prospects, like the level of competition. Like there's dude, scouting is so nuanced. Yeah, it's so nuanced,
and you're gonna get it wrong. Even the best, we know plenty of people are the best at what they do, and they get it wrong. And like, because there's just so much that goes into it. Because it's like, all right, how do I evaluate his 1 year at college, and he shot 38%, but you know the situation wasn't ideal. But at high school, that's how he played. That's more of his role. And it's like, how do you evaluate? Like we've done that. We've got Cole
Zaire Williams,
Williams, a bunch of guys. We've had plenty of discussions like that. Like, how do we evaluate?
Desmond Bain falls to 30, and now like some podcasts are saying that they prefer him over Trey Young.
Oh, that's been a hot take. That's been a hot. But how does a Desmond Bain go 30th? And like how do we miss on this guy, and how do we miss on Marvin Bagley? Like, how do we like all that? There's so much to it. You could do like 3 hours on that alone. But Stephen, you recently had an experience at OTE, and that is experience that I know from a lot of people that is a very different experience. Obviously, OTE is a very new league and all that, and there's a couple twins there that are pretty good.
Who are you talking about?
I think they're Tom twins. Tom twins. Pretty good guy. A couple guys. I think they might get drafted. I don't know. They might, maybe not. I don't know. But first of all, just explain that, because I saw the videos and all that.
Yeah.
And I was really happy when you said you were going, because I mean that's freaking awesome. So just tell me about that experience, and then just talk to me also about the growth of OT, because at first people were kind of skeptical about it, like, oh, that doesn't seem organized, or they're not competition and all that. But it seems like it's made tremendous strides to grow and have that competition and all that, where guys are like, okay, you can go to OT and we're going to be looking at you. We're not going to complain about the competition and all that. So first, talk to me about your experience and just the overall growth of OT.
Well, so first year, man, like I did not like the OTE experience, you know, like a lot of people. The commentary was not always about basketball.
Yes.
The presentation
I have
felt
to
a little
mute
over
it.
the
I do have
top.
to mute it at times when I'm on, but that it could definitely work on. They can definitely.
That's a popular take, man. And they had some names, right? Like Jan Montero was the big fish in the little pond last year, and he played like it. And Don Barlow kind of shot up the ranks, and you know he's got some run with the Spurs and has had moments where he looks good. And a lot of people were like, okay, these two left. Now they get the Thompson twins. And now they're starting to get some other international guys like Gorman looks great. They're getting guys like Tiller, who might be a future. Yeah, he might be a top 5 pick, you know, when he comes out. They're getting some big names. And when you look at everything that they have put in place between last year to this year, it's kind of similar to what we're doing over at No Ceilings, where like last year we kind of come out a collective of people that a lot of people knew individually, but we're coming together. We're trying to give everybody something fresh, something that no one else was really doing at the time, like a collection of talent, you know, 5 days a week, giving podcasts, giving written work, stuff like that. And not everybody loved and appreciated it, but there was a group of people that did. And they started adding other talent, right? And we come in next season with a more mature, more like full seasoned approach. And between last year and this year, like No Ceilings grew. And I think Overtime Elite, they kind of recognized that too, because they did the same thing. And it's really cool, man, because they're so like accepting to people who want to genuinely be a part of the experience. Like when we reached out to them about being credentialed, going to go see their pro day, there's so many different parallels. And we went there, and a lot of the stuff that you get when you were watching them on YouTube, now they got to deal with Amazon, and it's awesome, right? Like they're more accessible now, and getting a television deal was a big deal. Going and seeing them live, it's like they're more grown up than they look like on TV, you know, like as a league, and the players too, because you get in these facilities and there are some nice courts, dude. Like they got beautiful courts. Their film room is beautiful. They got one of the best workout rooms I've ever seen. They got a cuisine area. Like these kids, a lot of people were like, they don't want to go to school. They don't care about education. Like they still get education. It's just that I don't know if you heard, but like when Zion was on, what was it? JJ Redick's podcast. It was somebody's where he was talking about like, I would sit in class and dudes would stare at me, you know, like I was in an exhibit, you know, like he could want to be in that class and he could want to learn, but there's just so much that people just don't really understand, that how
especially big of a following on campus is, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like you don't understand like how much these kids are being followed, and they get to Overtime Elite and they have like a place where they live, like as a grown-up. They have a place where they like the extra stuff is cut out and they can just focus on that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's important, man. That's important. I did Paulo Bencaro was on I think
that was Paulo.
Yeah, and and Paulo was talking about at Duke, like everyone's just staring at him as if he's like this, like they're at the museum, like and at the zoo, and just like, oh my God, that's Paulo Bencaro.
And he's just like trying to take an algebra test. You know what I mean? Like,
and he's just being a student and all that. And like, I don't think people realize how much that is distracting. It's like, and he was like, you could come up to me and say, what's up? Like, you don't have to be behind me. Like, oh my God.
Like, I'm a human being,
like,
bro.
I mean, you could say what's up. Like, I'm not like this person. Like you could say what's up. Like, and it's crazy, you know? It was Paulo who said that. I remember.
Yeah, not Zion, but
yeah, Paulo was on RJ Hampton's podcast saying that. It was like, I'm getting treated like, and like you said with OTE, they're eliminating that. And like they're still getting an education.
Basketball.
Yeah,
and like they got some of the best coaching that you just don't get in a lot of other places, unless you're going to Kentucky, which, I mean, Coach Cowell, he's kind of fading away a little bit as an innovator. Like he's essentially just like a really big recruiter, and he gets a collection of talent. They don't necessarily run like the most, you know, modernized offense. They're just like very basic concepts and like go. But at Overtime Elite, there's like high school level kids. There's some adults on this team, and they're getting coached by Timothy Fanning, who has experience coaching overseas. You know, they're getting coached by Ryan Gomes, who is a former NBA player. One of the nicest guys like you'll ever get to talk to, by the way. You know, like they got Mr. Wilkins as like their GM and like head of things. Like they have so many people. Coach Ollie, who is like in charge of players.
National champion coach.
Like, a great coach. Like they have connections. They have the funding. They have the location. It's in Atlanta. Like who doesn't like to have fun in Atlanta?
Of course. Like the Hoopers actually have hoop there. The
Hoopers, I've saw them.
Yeah, they hoop there, and that's why I saw the gym. I was like, wow, that's a beautiful gym.
And it's like they're so connected and ingratiated into that Atlanta community too, you know, and like they have different teams now. Like they're improving. They've got so much more talent that they can do more. And it's only going to be getting better. Like I said, like the deal with Amazon is huge for them.
That's massive.
That whole experience, man, was just it peeled the onion a little bit to where it's like it's not just like a mixtape hype show that everybody tries to make it out to be. Like there's a plan in place. Like with NIL now, players could get NIL deals, play there, and maintain their eligibility if they want to go to college later on too. So they don't want to be like a farm system, but they also understand that like they can be used as an avenue for players to come play there and then go to the G League. They can go to college. They can stay there and get drafted straight out. Like there's so many avenues that you can get from playing at Overtime Elite, and they benefit from all these like new like measures that are put in place that players now have the most freedom that they've ever had to make their path to the NBA. And it's a lot of it has to do with what Overtime's doing.
Yeah, Overtime's been clutch. And it's like I said, it's another avenue for players to go play basketball. Not everyone, you know, not everybody's meant to go to college, you know, so now you have the G League and now you got OTE. There's just, it's when there's more avenues for players to go play basketball and make a few dollars and all that, I'm all for that. But it's definitely they have come a long way from their year one to now, and it's good they got the Amazon deal and all that. But you know, it's definitely on the come up, and then, you know, it's a new company. I think we forget that it's a new company, so they're learning. They're learning. You know, you got to learn through the ups and downs and all that, how to run a multi, this massive facility, and how to incorporate players and all that, and your system of how we're going to incorporate players, how we're going to place them and all that. It takes a while.
I'll tell you, dude,
to learn that.
It's important that they're doing it the way that they are, because like they understand like how much in their infancy as a company that they are. They have the right people doing the jobs that they are. Like Chris, I'm telling you, at the end of the pro day, all the players came out and shook the hands of all the scouts and everybody that were there. They were just like so grateful that people took time out of their day to come watch them. That's how they felt. And I was just grateful that they took time out of their day to let me come and watch them, you know? So like it builds like a connection, it builds community, and like how accessible the players were afterwards to be able to go up to them and get to talk to them, to be able to go up and talk to Coach Gomes. And, you know, they had, you know, our point of contact there was like, hey, Coach Gomes, these folks are with No Ceilings. They write about, he's like, oh, I know who No Ceilings are. Like, what's up, guys? And it was just like so cool to be able to have that level of interact. Yeah, dude, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, that's dope when they know you. Oh yeah, No Ceilings. Yeah. And like I said, that's building, obviously you guys have built a massive brand there with there. And it's just, it's like I said, it's been dope seeing that you get recognized from so many different types of, publications and players or coaches and all that. And to see that Ryan Gomes like, yeah, I've heard of these guys. Yeah, come on. And that
was such a humbling experience for Coach Gomes to be like, hey man, like, let me talk to you for a minute, so.
Yeah. And that's dope. All right. So obviously they got those twins, one set of twins, right? Not two pair of twins, because two pair of twins would be two twins. That would be four people. So
yes, I think that's
pair of twins. I know people tend to do that. So just correction.
Gotcha.
Pair of twins that are pretty good. Is there that big of a difference between one and the other? Because that's another thing going on.
That's $1 million question.
That's $1 million. Obviously they look alike and all that. That's obvious, but
sure.
And we're going to have that with the Boozer kids in a few years in 2025. But is there that big of a gap? I know sometimes you'll have serve 3 and the other one to 15, and it's like, is there really a big of a gap with the twins?
Again, this is like the nuance that comes along with scouting. There are people that have them 3 and 4, like one right after another. Then there are people that have Amen as a second or even third talent, and they have Asar like as a late first, second round draft pick.
I've seen that.
And then there are folks that have Asar higher because they feel like he's going to transition easier because he is succeeding without the ball in his hand. Where then there are people that think Amen is going to be better because he's good at essentially everything but shooting. So people will assume like when that shooting comes around, he will be an unstoppable force. He's already getting to his spots without being able to shoot. They're both freak of nature athletes.
Yeah. Bouncy.
There's a lot of variability with how you want to look at this. I'll kind of share. I have Amen, I want to say 7th on my board, and then 6 or 7, and then I have Asar at 11. So I have them a couple of spots away from each other. I'll be honest, I had them further apart than I did coming into the year, but Asar is like answering every single freaking question that I had coming in. And when I have a board, like I have a range, right, Chris? And unfortunately, at some point, you got to slap a number next to a name. But like I could be talked up a couple positions. I don't think I could be docked down any more than 11. But I could be talked up probably a couple of spots. And I definitely understand why people are higher on Asar than they are on Amen. But this is where draft philosophy comes into place. And there's no perfect answer. I just have them the mindset that Amen as a jumbo creator, they both have crazy speed. The passing ability that he has is greater than that of Asar. They both are terrific defenders. Like at 6'7", ball in your hand guy, like Chris, you see it all the time in the NBA. Like if you're big and you have a height of eye advantage and you're quick twitchy and you can get to your spots, like that's hard to get. And there are teams that can get him in a system and help that jumper come around. You know what I mean? But scouting his projection, I am a glass half full on the shot with him that it can get better because it's hard for it to get worse, right? So, but everything else that he does is very nice.
Yeah, and also, development is also where you go to. Like if one of these guys go to the Spurs,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap, right? We
Either
know
one of them.
Yeah, and and the Spurs are in a way that they're trying to that word.
They're trying to get. They're trying to get windy.
They're doing it the nice way, I guess, if you want to call it that way. The competitive way of taking. But they get if they go to the right system, that development just goes more. So that's
New Orleans is doing a lot of nice stuff with their developmental staff too. So
they really hit the home run in New Orleans with their development and trusting their guys and just letting it go. And they're deep. I mean, they got guys that could probably be starting somewhere else. And giving and it's crazy, but that's important is where you go, because we've seen there's certain teams you don't want to go to. I won't mention a team from a city that I'm pretty familiar with that doesn't really do that, but it all depends where you go to. But
and I'll tell you, they're both like super nice kids, dude, like really down to earth. Very aware of where they are in their developmental process, very aware of how they need to get better, very receptive to coaching, very receptive to feedback, and are also pretty confident in what they are good at too. So like there's a lot of good character qualities associated with both of those young men.
Good healthy balance of competitiveness and confidence.
Humble but hungry.
Humble but hungry. Yes, I like that. I like that. I might put on a t-shirt. You guys are good with merch over there. You might need merch on this,
Maybe we'll see.
Put it on.
We'll see what Corey can do.
Yeah. He's the creative genius there, so but let's go on over to talk some more drafting. Let's get into it. But first, this show is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the newest partner of the Off the Ball Network. Go on over to SeatGeek.com and use promo code Off the Ball Network, all caps, and get $20 off any purchase. I think you could probably use it for OTE. You want to go see OTE? Go use the promo code Off the Ball Network.
College basketball game to go see a college game.
Bam! You want to go to college game, Stephen? Boom! Off the Ball Network, all caps, promo code.
Go see Gigi.
Go see Gigi. Oh! We might have to talk about him. He's ooh. Promo code Off the Ball Network. #1 place for all your sporting tickets. Anything. You want to go see the opera? Want to bring the wife to see Aladdin? I don't know if Aladdin's still around, but if you
Little
want to
Mermaid,
see
I think is
Little
out.
Mermaid, you want to go see Paw Patrol on Ice, Disney on Ice, use the promo code Off the Ball Network at SeatGeek.com. Your #1 place for your ticket needs. Stephen, let's talk more draft.
Let's do it.
Give me some of your guys that you are. Give me your all Steven 5. Not guys, not your big board 5. I want Steven's 5. I don't care if they're in their 70th ranked prospect. I just need your 5 guys that you love watching and that you feel are just enjoyable. You just love watching them play.
Okay, yeah. I'll throw a 6-man in there too, if that's okay.
Yeah, you can do a 6-man. We want to come off the bench.
Okay. All right. So my highest level prospect that's going to be on this team is just recently made his debut to college basketball. Playing up in that Northeast environment, Chris, that you love. I'm
going to watch him play this year. I'm going to a game.
Please do, and let me know what you think. Loved him coming into the draft. He was my 3rd ranked prospect coming in. I had to really, guard my heart when I started watching guys like Brandon Miller, the Thompson twins tear it up, guys like Nick Smith Jr. making his comeback. I really had to guard my heart, and I'm keeping him at #3 right now, but that's out of Villanova, Cam Whitmore. Just an awesome combination of power and beauty. Was really upset at Coach Neptune for keeping him out the final 4 or 5 minutes of that game against Oklahoma because he turned the ball over, but because he was like 4th in the team in scoring, like tied for 1st in rebounding, like led the team in steals. Dude, just there's not much he can't do. There are things that he needs to get better at. What really impressed me in his debut, he played about 20 minutes. Offense was okay, but the defense was there. I was very impressed with the defense. He had a play where he got to the basket, made a bucket, but it got called back like way before, so I had to redo the play. He had a beautiful combo dribble pull-up 3 that was just butter. His shot looked good. Even his misses were acceptable misses. He had one where he went left, drew contact, didn't get the foul call, but still finished through contact. It was beautiful. Playing with guys like Daniels, guys like Dixon, guys like Slater, the ball kind of sticks to their hands a little bit. And I was like, they really need to get the ball to this Whitmore kid. And he just got to the point to where he was like, well, if they're not going to pass to me, I'm just going to steal the ball and go down the court with it. And he did that. And this most recent game, I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. Shame on me. But he had himself a game and is looking every bit of the prospect that I had hopes that he would be coming in, maintaining him #3 on my board. Chris, what do you think of Whitmore?
I love him. I just love him. I love him. He's what, 6'8", 240,
and
he's
6'6".
He's
6'6". Yeah.
So like he has the body already. He has an NBA body already. He can get to the basket at will. He has the outside game you need, shooting. Has the bag, as people like to say, and there's two-way potential there too. So that's why I think people are like, that could be the 3rd guy. Because everyone's set on Wemby and Scoop at #2, and that probably is going to be, as of right now, that's 1, 2. But the 3rd spot is wide open. Everyone has their flavor, right? Whatever flavor they like is that 3rd. Everyone has their different type of flavor. But with Cam, at 3, I wouldn't be surprised if he is the 3rd guy. He's just that special. He has the body already and all that. And I think we see Nova struggling a little bit this year, but once Cam gets once he gets in rhythm and once he's healthy, I think Villanova is going to get right back to where we think Villanova should be in the Big East, because they're going to get back on track. I truly believe with Cam back, they're going to get back on track.
I hope so, because I thought that him going to Villanova was so smart. Obviously with the coaching change from Coach Wright to Coach Neptune, I thought that, the defense was going to be there, that they were going to continue to instill ball movement. They don't really have a true point guard. Daniels is doing the best with what he's got, but they're losing more than they should be right now. I just hope that Whitmore doesn't go to a system where there's a couple people that the ball is going to stick to his hand and he has to just kind of camp out. I don't want to see that, but I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. Travel a little bit further down my board to prospect that I have at 24 right now. I'm even looking at my board right now. I already want to move him up more, but I like to put measures to kind of temper my heart and miscalculate and maybe overcorrect. Max Lewis out of Pepperdine. This kid is something to see. And Chris, you and I are both East Coasters. It's hard to stay up for these WCC games. It's really hard to make it through.
It's very tough.
Which is why I have an Instat subscription, because I can watch the game whenever the heck I want. And I'm so glad that I do, because, man, Max Lewis does so many things that other NBA wings do. He's about 6'7", 6'8", about 230. Beautiful jumper. Like, such a confident, pure jump shot. You know, our colleague over at No Ceilings, Max Bombach, had a chance to talk to him and his coach. Nothing about this kid makes me feel like he's going to have any problems at all adjusting to the NBA. Mm-hmm. I think that his defense could stand to get a little bit better. He's a sophomore. He's a kind of a young sophomore too. So the leap that we've seen, like, one thing I like about guys that stay in school or have to stay in school for particular reasons, but they really stick to the growth in their game, is like you start to see a trajectory. You know, watching him as a freshman and now seeing the growth that he's undertaking as a sophomore now, it's beautiful. Like, it's his team. There's a couple of other guys. I love Houston Millette on the squad too. They got Javon Porter, who, if that Porter sounds familiar, that's Michael Porter Jr.'s little brother. So he's got some shooting in his bag. You know, they got Mitchell on this team as well. There's a lot of fun offensive talent on the squad, man. But it's Max Lewis's team. This team's going to go as far as he takes them. Love him. Have you had a chance to watch much of him?
I love that he's efficient. He gets to the, and he can get to the cup and all that. So anytime I could see a player that's efficient at all three levels, that's someone that I have to keep my eye on. And he's been someone that the last few weeks I've heard a lot of his name pop up on the timeline and all that. So whenever I see, especially people I respect, you know, in the draft space, like, and you guys and everyone else, I'm like, okay, I have to be watching more of him. And just seeing him, I was like, oh, efficiency. I love efficient players. I think everyone loves efficient players, and you just see he's efficient at all three levels this year. So he's definitely someone that it's going to keep rising for sure.
He's got the size and versatility that NBA teams love in a wing. So speaking of size and versatility, I'm going to talk about a G League Ignite prospect now, but it's not going to be Scoot Henderson. Like, obviously, like, if this was like my top 5, he would have already been discussed. Sidy Cissoko. I loved his international film. I love some of the things that I've seen in the G League Ignite. And what's hard about the G League Ignite, Chris, is that it's a new team every year. Like, they genuinely don't have a lot of turnover, or they genuinely have a lot of turnover, and there's not a lot of cohesion year in and year out. Sidy Cissoko is a guy that is big. Like, I think he's like 6'8", 230. He's a jumbo creator. Shooting is my big concern with him, which is why I have him 38th on my board. But the ancillary playmaking that he has, the size that he has, finishing with either hand, I trust the defense as well. He's got pro-level experience internationally. He's getting pro-level experience now in the G League. He's playing off of a mega star in Scoot Henderson. I just think that there's a spot in the NBA for a player like this, and a lot of why I like him is pre-G League. Like, there are still some fun things to see about him in the G League, but watch his international film, man. He is such a bundle of fun. Such a bundle of fun.
He's someone I gotta watch more of him. I watched maybe a few clips here and there, but he's someone that I probably got to do more of a deep dive on him for sure.
And what's crazy, man, is like I love like the different pathways that you can take as a player to go pro. But it's harder on scouts because you got like your eye has to be in a billion leagues now.
It's so many leagues out there.
It was hard when it was just college international, you know, and like now there's overtime elite, there's the G League, like there's so many different ways that players can be recognized.
Just a few years ago, we're just talking about international, a couple of guys, and then college. That's it. That's just 2000, Stephen.
And the game has grown so much, and thank goodness, because like we get to see guys like Sidy Cissoko succeed in international play and now the G League, right? So it's fun to watch. Further down my board, let's get weird. Tyler Burton, I have him 54. I want to have him higher. Again, like once I slap a number on a guy, like more so I have him in a range, and it just kind of fell that way. But Richmond Spider, really liked him last year. Coming in off of an injury this season, 6'8", or 2 bills and 30 pounds, has nice handle, is like a ferocious rebounder, dude, and great 3-point shooter. He's just a big rebounding 3-point shooting wing, and the one thing that succeeds in the NBA is being big, being a rebounder, and having a 3-point shot. I think that he defends
that definitely helps.
I think he defends adequately. I'm not going to call him a defensive stalwart, but he understands positioning. He's got the requisite size and length to be a menace. And I think that offensively, he could probably play him 2 through 4. Defensively, you kind of want to have him on like probably the less skilled offensive player in the NBA. But coming in on a rotation, that's why I have him 54. If you can get a guy like that in your rotation and can help open the floor up for other people, and you know that he's going to be competitive both defensively and on the glass, like that's the type of player that I would want to look at if I had a late second round pick, Sure. He's been in college for a while, so you're probably familiar with his game, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I've watched a little bit of him.
Okay. And then closing out my top 5, I got one more after this. A late riser on my board. And when I find a guy, Chris, that I'm discovering late, I can't just jet him all the way up. I got to have him prove it to me a little bit more. So I'm saying 78, probably in 3 months when everyone has a consensus, early second, late first round grade on him. They might listen to the show and be like, what the heck was the Stephen guy talking about? I want to preface this because I have him 78. Like I have to talk myself into I got to prove this guy wrong at this stage for me now. Keyshawn Gilbert, playing at UNLV, running Rebels. Dude, he moves so well. He's like a 6'4" sophomore guard. Great passer, good shooter. Love his defensive instincts as a guard. Just plays angry. Like he's just mad every time he's dribbling the basketball, but he's composed as well. So like when you have a guy who is just like biding time, and then when he sees an opening to just unleash all his upsetness and anger and everything else, like
I love players like that.
Watch him, man. He's a late riser for me out. He's one of these guys that like if you're in on him early, you feel so smart because everyone else is coming to the party. I feel like I'm still kind of early on him, so to speak, but Keyshawn Gilbert, go watch this film. I'm telling you, Chris, this is your type of guard. He's such a fun player. And then my
big reason why they're undefeated. Big reason why they're undefeated.
Dude, he's phenomenal. 6-man. Bobby Klintman out of Wake Forest. People are going to listen and they're going to go, Sports Reference his name, and they're going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? This guy's story is just amazing. Coming from Sweden, just had a successful run in the under 20 European tournament. His team went 6-1. He was like one of the all division team members, led his team in every statistical category, was essentially their LeBron James in the finals back when LeBron was leading the Cavs or the Heat in every statistical category. That's what Klintman did overseas. He comes and plays high school ball at Sunrise Christian, playing with guys like Mark Mitchell, Grady Dick, like players that everyone knew coming into the season. Bobby Klintman is establishing himself from European style play to American style play, is going to Wake Forest. Coach Forbes over there loves this kid because he allows him to play big and small. He's 6'10", listed at 225. Last year, Chris, he was 6'8", 200 pounds. So like he's keep growing and getting stronger, and is getting more accustomed to, the weight training, strength and conditioning that us Americans, do a pretty decent job at. And he, in the minutes that he plays about 20 minutes a game. He gives you about 6 points, 4 boards, a block, a steal, and an assist. The efficiency, he's getting accustomed to ACC level competition now. He's growing. He's getting more accustomed to the game. I'm a long-term buyer in this kid. And if you listen to him talk, like he has an infectious smile. He's a sweetheart. Like he is. Like if I had an 18-year-old daughter, Chris, he could marry my daughter. Like today, I would be fine with that. But he's so much fun to watch. I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. There are NBA style of players that he reminds me of, and I would encourage Chris, you and your listeners to go and watch and form your own opinion on who he reminds you of. You're gonna be shocked. But yeah, I'm a long-term buyer in this kid and his potential and his growth trajectory. He's not where he needs to be now, but considering where he was a year ago to where he is now, like that upward trajectory is there. I'm buying low. I'm investing now. That way I can be a billion. I can be in a billionaire in like 2 years, Chris.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No,
he's got that level of potential.
And I liked investing in guys like that. Like, because you see the bigger picture. Because there are guys who aren't finished products, and if you just look at the stats, you'll be like, "What are you talking about, Stephen? I saw 0-point games and 1-point games and all that. What are you talking about?" But this is the part of scouting that needs to be incorporated. It's like you see, it's like, no, guys, I see the bigger picture, and there's been plenty of examples of guys like this who are in the league right now. Who you look at the tape or you just look at the stat sheet, and you're just like, this guy was nothing at college, or they were very minimal. And look, like I always say, Jose Alvarado, let's look at him. Not a lot of people were like, that's going to be a pro. He's going to be a guy who could get you, who can occasionally maybe score 30 points in an NBA game. And sometimes you have to, and I remember people talking about, it's like, I think Jose Alvarado, I don't know, but there's something about this kid I just like, and I remember liking him a lot. I'm like, because he's a New York guy. New York through and through, and he had everything about him is a New York City point guard. I'm just like, he's got that scrappiness that's gonna annoy the heck out of you. But if you're the opposite team, but if he's on your team, you're gonna love him. And we're seeing that in the league. But there's guys that you buy, you put a quarter in, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna put $1 in and just be like, all right, let it just grow, and then we'll see it. And that's a guy I've definitely got to watch more of him.
By now, man, I'm telling you,
I'm gonna watch more once we get to ACC play, and obviously being the Duke fan, I'm gonna watch more of him at Wake. They play twice. They play each other twice this year, so definitely gonna watch more of him. But yeah, definitely someone I gotta keep my eye on for sure. Because look, I've seen a little bit of him, not enough, but I've seen a little bit of him, and there's definitely something there with him for sure.
Yeah,
definitely for sure.
Flashes are real, man.
Yeah, definitely flashes for sure. But yeah, that's Stephen's fave 5, including a 6-man. And like I said, there's so many fun prospects that you just love. Like, and I think, and that's why I wanted to preference, because I could be like, oh, what's your top 5? Most likely, it's probably like a lot of others.
We might have like one player different.
It might be one player, but I like to know. I like to ask people who are their favorites, who are guys that I don't care where they're ranked on your board or rank on. I just like, because I want to know who you're seeing that you just like. Because I remember you told me about Sandy Aldama from Memphis. Not a lot of people, and I always remember like, why does Stephen like him so much? Why does Stephen have him top 30 and I have him 60s? Like, why is it? And then now I'm seeing, and you saw you projected him, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing what he liked about him so much that it may not be immediate, but he saw that if he gets to the right system, right?
And I had him too low, and I loved him.
Yeah.
And now he's like even proving me wrong, and I might have been like the foremost Santi Aldama guy.
Yeah, that's every time I see it, like when they played the Knicks, I kept thinking, oh, that was Steven's guy.
I remember you're
the one person I was like, no, nobody can tell me they were a fan of his. No, Steven, that's Steven's guy. Like,
when I saw
every time I
Memphis
think of Bane, I think of draft. I think of Mavs draft. There's certain players I think of, and I'm sure you do the same thing. You're like, oh, that was that guy's guy. That's his guy. No, not anyone else's. That's his guy.
On the Off the Ball draft show, when the Memphis Grizzlies drafted Santi Aldama, you remember I just stood up.
Yeah,
like it was my kid.
Yeah. That's like, it's like when Sam Merrill got drafted 2 years ago. I was like, and he was the last pick. And I remember even Mavs draft hit me up. He's like, your boy got drafted. I was like, there's just certain guys you just see something. And Merrill has a ways to go and all that. But that was just a guy I just drafted.
Then you watch him play and get better. And
yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Exactly. And making a contribution to a team that can potentially be a championship team. That's even better. You know, and that's why it's important to where you get drafted, because he went to the perfect. I don't know if he has this success with another team.
They don't draft us.
And it doesn't matter where they draft too. It just like Bane was the last pick in the first round. They
banger after banger after banger after banger.
And it shows you that you don't need to tank, guys. Knicks fans, we don't need to tank. You could draft. Steven, you know.
Tyler Rucker at No Ceilings is really big on like smart teams hit singles and doubles. They don't try to hit home runs every time they're at bat.
You don't need the tank to be. Some people have this vision that the only way you can get back to being great is tanking. And I'm like, look at the teams who have won championships recently. You know, the Warriors. Did they tank? They had one bad year, but that was because they just like, we're not playing. No, like, guys, take a year off. We're tired. You know,
they had a sneaky tank year.
They had a sneaky, but it was like they already had built their team. Like it was that was just like
they're established.
They were established. But like we see teams, a lot of these teams we would they're not tanking. It's just they just draft really well no matter where they
Celtics didn't tank.
Celtics didn't tank. You know, a lot of teams don't do. Toronto didn't tank. They made one. They developed, and then they made one big trade, and they've developed since they won that championship. Like you don't need to tank, guys. Yeah. You don't need to tank. You could build a team getting the 8th pick, the 9th. It's just good teams know.
You got to do free agency and draft and player development well. Like you have to do both.
Yeah,
it takes being good at a lot of things. It
takes a lot, and that's where you see the teams that are consistently at the top just continue to do, and we're seeing with New Orleans now that they've developed, their development is at A+ level. Like so, it's possible. You don't have to tank and all that, you know. So that's something that I think it's a huge myth. The tanking, it's the only way, because there's teams that have there's teams that tank every year, and they literally are in the same spot every year. The Sacramento Kings, until now, they're decent right now, but they were tanking every single year.
The Thunder might be onto something though, man, because they were tanking notoriously, and now
it might.
It's unfortunate that Chet's hurt, because Shea he's on one.
He's on a different level. He's playing at a high, and it would have been fun to see Chet there, because I think they may be, because they've been relatively competitive this year. I mean, they've beaten some good teams.
Hoku is a basketball player now. What?
Hoku is they got a lot of aliens on. They can have a super alien lineup next year. That could be absolutely freaky scary. Yeah. Freaky scary. So they may be onto something, because it might finally work. Their progression, their ways and all that. So, but Steven, this is a draft show, right?
Okay.
We talked a lot of prospects, but there's another thing we like. Yeah. Good old fashioned wrestling. Good old fashioned wrestling. We love wrestling, and we're going to draft our own. We're going to have a top 5 draft. We're going to do 5 picks each, and we're going to try to pick the best roster. And this rosters consist of you know, guys, what do you want to do from the last? You want to do all time?
Let's just say from when. I don't want to talk about players. I don't want to talk about wrestlers that I have to go back and watch film on. You know, like I don't want to get into the catacombs of wrestling history. Like, let's just talk our era.
We'll talk the Attitude Era on. We'll do that.
And
you know,
because I'm still paying attention to some wrestling, man.
I don't get to watch as much as I do, but there's still a couple guys. I'm like, okay, they still got it and all that. So you are the guest. I will give you the number 1 pick. So you are on the clock, sir.
So I'm not gonna go with, may not be the right answer, but it's definitely not a wrong answer. I gotta go, and this is a wrestler that I have grown to respect more over time, because he's got a lot of flair. He's got a lot of myth around him. He's got an aura about him, but he's not a promo king. You know, he's not like a real demonstrative, like, he's an intimidating guy, but he's not like a, hey, everybody look at me guy.
I'm trying to think.
Legend in the game for a long time. A long time. recently stepped away. Going with the Phenom.
The dead man. The dead man. Okay.
Going with the dead man. I'm going with the Undertaker.
That's a good piece to build around. Okay.
He's a locker room guy. He's going to hold all my other guys accountable. Mm-hmm. He is going to ride or die for my company, despite differences of opinion, despite comings and goings of other organizations around me, despite like mass exoduses, despite fan disappointment, like despite any of that, he's going to ride or die for me. He doesn't even have to have the title to have the respect. And that's
Tim Duncan. He's your Tim Duncan. Okay.
He's my Tim Duncan. There we go. Yeah, he's my Tim Duncan of my squad. I gotta go Undertaker, man. Gotta do it.
That's a good one, because that's a good teammate. Ride or die. Very ride or die. Could have,
Yep.
you know, we know he could have left for WCW. Definitely could have left. Definitely a good locker room piece. No, that's a good one. Okay. So the dead man, the number 1 pick. All right. There's a lot of ways I can go.
Dude,
a lot of ways I can go.
Unlimited potential here.
You know what? Oh, man, because I know you're probably going to take him with the next pick. So, but I can only pick one. Okay. I'm going to pick one guy. I'm going box office.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking tickets. I'm thinking merch. I'm thinking just loudness at the arena. It's going to be a great old time. And when this,
you need the pop. Yeah.
I need the pop. And when instant, once you hear the, I'm going with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going with Stone Cold.
You said box office. I thought you were going another way, but I see what you're doing here.
I was thinking the other man, but I'm thinking this man is box office. He is the draw of all draws. You know, there with Hogan and all that. And I'm thinking glitz and glamour, and I'm thinking, you know, revenue. I'm thinking let's find our LeBron James. We need it. Let's start off with the franchise. We're going with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I can respect it, man. Love Stone Cold. He has recently started getting back into the ring, you know.
Did you watch WrestleMania? Did you get to watch WrestleMania?
I watched Kevin Owens and him go at it.
That was a solid match for an old guy that hasn't wrestled in 20 years.
He's lifting weights again already.
I think he's coming back for another match. I don't know with who. I haven't even like rumors of who, but I feel
I don't know who's available, who's not like majorly involved in a storyline that he can go to, because like Seth Rollins is tied up.
That's tough. I don't know who. I don't really know who he could do with, but I know he's gonna do it. I'm pretty sure he's gonna do one more, because I think he got. You know how wrestlers are. Once they get that itch, when they haven't done it for a while, they get back. So I think
once they get that pop again. Yeah, and he's been around the company. Even when he stepped away, he's been around. Like, I love Broken Skull Sessions. I watch every new episode because I love like peeling the curtain back and like hearing the story and the come up and like what's going on now. Like, I love his podcast. So I don't know.
I think he comes back. All right, so you're on the clock. You got the number 1 pick. Your number 1 pick was the dead man. I picked Stone Cold. So who is joining the Undertaker?
So I think we both did a really good job of going after a guy that is going to be around, like, no matter what, like barring injury. Like, both of these guys.
See, my guy has a little bit of an injury history, so that's the thing I have to worry about. I do have to worry. So I have to, you know, my roster construction is going to have to be a little different.
So I got my stability, and I got my guy who has all the respect in the world from anybody that's ever laced him up. You went after box office. I'm going after box office.
I think I know where you're going.
If you smell what I'm cooking.
Okay,
if you smell what I'm cooking. This guy, kind of a, dare I call him a Michael Jordan, where he's, you know, came in, conquered the world, left, came back, you know, still did his thing. And even though he's older, he still thinks that he can still whoop everybody, you know, like I got to go with Dwayne Johnson. I got to go with The Rock, man. Like, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, you know, multi-time WWF, WWE, like, he has faced everyone And let's face it, man, if me and you are on teams and our teams are gotta face up, like you can't have The Rock and Stone Cold on a team together.
No, you can't.
Like when Undertaker and whoever else is in the ring with Undertaker that I'm sure you're gonna be drafting next, like make a tag, and The Rock and Stone Cold are lined up against each other. They're gonna take a moment to let the crowd just like lose their minds over it, and they're gonna look around and they're gonna take time. Like wrestlers love talking about like don't go too fast because fans love moments. Like there's going to be that moment between our teams, Chris, where
we're going to have
The Rock and Stone Cold are going to have the face off and everyone's going to lose their minds.
That's a good
maybe
one.
That's WrestleMania. Maybe The Rock and Stone Cold both come back and face off.
I think The Rock's coming back, but I think he's coming for
Roman,
for the tribal chief. I think he's coming for the tribal chief.
He's coming to kill the bloodline. Okay.
To battle. They're gonna have the battle of who's the head of the table, who's the guy. So you just picked The Rock, and that's a hell of a pick. And that was literally, if I didn't pick Stone Cold, that was gonna be my pick. But sorry, you got Taker, you got The Rock, you got Stone Cold. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. I'm gonna go. Okay. My guys are telling me in the war room that we have to think about this. Okay. We're going to take it down to the clock. I think, guys, I'm going to go with this. Might not be popular. We're going to go. I'm going to go with John Cena. Okay. I'm going to go with John Cena.
Well, that's good because now we got The Rock and Stone Cold facing each other. We got to have
we gotta have Cena because they did wrestle each other at WrestleMania, but that wasn't to me that wasn't really a match. That was like a
gotta have the battle of the movie stars, you know.
Yeah, and you know, another guy who's box office, you know, and can go if Stone Cold is with Taker, I could put John Cena with Rock because we've seen that before, and John Cena can go toe to toe with The Rock on the mic. And his wrestling is very underrated too. So I'm gonna go with Mr. You Can't See Me, John Cena.
I respect that, man, because we both have our mainstays, our guys that are gonna ride or die, and now we both have our guys that when they're there, you love them. You say, "Hey, thanks for being here. Come and go as you wish," because you do right by us when you're here. When you're gone, you still do right by us. You still respect the industry. You know, you're not, even though you're box office, you're not too big to come back home. You know, so I love that. All right, so we got our stability guys. We got our box office guys. We need wrestlers. We need.
I already hate that you said that. You're gonna take my guy.
We need wrestlers. We need tacticians. We still need guys that are good on the mic, man, because if we're only limiting ourselves to 5, like we got to have guys that can do it all, like a Swiss Army knife. And we got some heavyweights in here. We got some really big dudes. But I got to go with a guy that, although he's not the biggest wrestler ever, he's one of the most respected. He's still doing incredible things to help promote wrestling. I got to go with the Heartbreak Kid. I gotta go HBK. Now, he has had beef with all of these dudes that we've already drafted so far, and he has gone toe-to-toe with all of them. And I'm going with respect, I'm going with pop, and I'm going with just good wrestling here. I gotta go HBK.
Okay, that's a great pick.
Mr. WrestleMania.
He is Mr. WrestleMania. And you know how you said he had beef with a lot of the guys, you know, in this? The guy I'm picking, he had the most beef with. I'm going to pick the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart, my favorite wrestler of all time. Bret Hart. Okay. So we already have a ton of storylines already with the 6 guys that are we have a lot of very good creative television that's going to be must see. And just with these 2 guys alone in their prime going at it, it's a lot of fun. Bret Hart, to me, the best technical wrestler that has ever laced up a pair of boots. Maybe not the most charismatic, but somehow was still charismatic just by his entrance. I always wanted those glasses. I used to be so jealous when he would get in the ring, do his thing, and then come out, take the glass, and pick a kid. I was like, oh man, one day I want to be one. And I remember one day I was in the front row and didn't get him. So
there's a lot of kids in the front row, man.
I'm a big kid now, and I still want that moment of Bret Hart. If I ever meet Bret Hart, I want him to just be like, here's the glasses. I need you to put them on me as if I'm a 6-year-old kid. So Bret Hart is my guy. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. We tons of feuds we'll have with this.
Oh man. All right. I don't want to be an old head. I don't want to just sit here and talk about like wrestlers during the most influential time of my development. You know, I want to, I still keep up with the game, man. And there's some wrestlers that are they're the whole show. They're the whole effing show right now in wrestling. And if you can be the guy every time you step into a ring, whether you have a title or not, you can bring respect to the United States Championship in a way that a lot of people have lost it. Like probably one of the best US champions since John Cena made it cool. I got to go with someone who is associated with the man. I got to go Seth freaking Rollins, a guy who can wrestle small guys, a guy who can wrestle big guys, a guy who can get guys over, and a guy who can put on the show. One of the most unpredictable wrestlers we have ever seen. A guy who, when you think he's out, he's got you right where he wants you. And I think he could bring a lot of fun to a lot of these older generational guys. Like I'm imagining, Chris, that we're in like a WWE 2K, whatever. I don't play the games anymore, but like where you can bring in like young versions of everybody, like in their prime. Like imagine Seth Rollins against Bret Hart. Imagine Seth Rollins against, you know, Stone Cold. Imagine Seth Rollins against any of my guys. Like I got to go with him. So I got Undertaker, I've got The Rock, and I've got Seth freaking Rollins.
That's good. That's a good four.
And Shawn Michaels.
And that's a really good four. That's a really good four. All right. With my fourth pick, I just put, Stone Cold 1, Cena 2, Bret 3. I'm going with the guy with the greatest finisher of all time.
Okay.
Mr. Out of Nowhere. Randy Orton, Mr. RKO, Randy Orton is my fourth pick. I think he has the greatest finisher of all time simply because you can hit it anywhere from the top rope or someone coming from the top rope. You could do it on the ropes. You could do it on the ring post. You could do it anywhere because that's why I love it. It comes from anywhere. It's unexpected. Greatest move. And his growth as a wrestler, as a talker, he seems like he gets better with age. Randy is my pick and we can have some banger matches with every single guy. And he's had banger match except for The Rock. He wrestled The Rock at WrestleMania 20, but that was a 3-on-2, so you didn't really get to see 1-on-1. But he's had bangers with Shawn Michaels. He's had bangers with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and he's had bangers with Taker at WrestleMania too. So there's an endless amount of matches that we could see and some good promos too, especially Legend Killer Randy Orton. I mean, 3 legends right there. We can have a lot of good fun, with promos there. So Randy with my fourth pick. So Stephen, you've taken The Undertaker. You've taken the Great One. You've taken Mr. WrestleMania. You've taken Seth freaking Rollins. Who's the last pick?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
My next pick has beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He has destroyed The Rock and Stone Cold when he came through.
Yep.
He has beaten everybody that he has lined up against. He comes with somebody else that is very entertaining in Paul
Oh, so you're taking the pack. Okay, so I like it. You took kind of like the package. Okay. Well,
I'm taking the package. I'm taking someone who I never really respected until very recently when he started coming in as Cowboy.
Cowboy Brock is so entertaining. Brock is so entertaining.
Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm cheating because he's so powerful and so good. But my starting 5 of, and you could pick a manager too, because I think Paul Heyman is just fantastic. My starting 5 is Undertaker, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Seth freaking Rollins, and Brock Lesnar.
Okay, that's a good 5. That's a good 5. So I'm gonna borrow your manager because he kind of goes with my guy. I'm going to go with the head of the table.
Okay.
The tribal chief.
Okay.
The one. Throw your ones up, guys, if you're listening. Roman Reigns. Gonna borrow Heyman. Gonna use the tribal chief. Gonna go with Roman Reigns. We can have bangers with every single. I mean, Roman versus The Rock.
Yes.
Right there. That's, if we do a collective WrestleMania with our 10 guys, that's the main event. Main event. That's the most box office of box office, if that's even a word, of main events we can do. And even Roman versus Taker, in prime, that would be a banger. Seth Rollins and them have had bangers. Obviously, him and Brock have wrestled countless times, and him and HBK would be fun too, because HBK can work with bigger guys and know how to move them. So we got a nice little. Okay, I like our 5. I think we could do good. So to cap it off, Steven took Taker, Rock, HBK, Seth freaking Rollins, and Brock Lesnar. I took Stone Cold, John Cena, Bret Hart, Randy Orton, and the one Roman Reigns. So that caps off our wrestling draft, and that caps off another episode of the Off the Ball podcast. And my special guest, No Ceiling Zone, Stephen Gillaspie. Stephen, this has been an absolute joy doing this show, brother. And I'm happy that we finally got back to something we've done a lot. So I appreciate you spending the last hour and change with me, talking your experiences in scouting and with No Ceiling and OTE experience, and doing this little wrestling draft that we did. So appreciate your time, and thanks again for coming on, my brother.
Yeah, man. I just want to say thank you for having me. I know that even behind the scenes, dude, like I have spoken to guys like Corey, guys like Nathan Rucker, like Albert, the whole team. When I came over from Off the Ball, like all those dudes had nothing but fantastic things to say about the team, man. And they were like, "Are you sure?" type thing, because they just respected everything that was going on so much. And we still do, man. Like the fact that I was able to contribute to Mo's Big 100 episode, the fact that you reached out to me and asked me to be a part of that, man, like that meant the world to me. I even tuned into the show, and big ups to Mo, big ups to Jeff. I mean, Stu, Jerg, Ken, you, Walker, like I could keep going, banger after banger after banger. Like Off the Ball is always going to be a big place in my heart, man. And I'm happy to be on your show, man. It was, just like old times. It's like, there's, being able to reminisce, being able to come back and get the nostalgia feel. It was a lot of fun, man. Thanks for having me.
No, and I said we got back to what we've done plenty of times, and as if we were doing Off the Ball shows again. So it's like we've never.
Shout out to Cruz, shout out to Coach, shout out to Stu, like shout out to all them boys, man. Love all y'all.
Yes, and they always send their regards, and they're happy for your success and all that. And like I said, it's always family. And we like I mentioned before, you see a lot of people who may leave, and there's some discouraging stuff, and there's bad juju and all that, but it seems it's always love. It's always love. And like I said, you helped build the Off the Ball network, so that's a special thing to me. You helped build. We took something from nothing and help build it to something solid, you know, something
y'all
that's
are a recognized
respectable
brand, dude. Yeah,
like
recognized, respected brand.
we're respected, and I think that's, you know, I think I find I get a lot of pride from that when people respect, like, oh, that's off the ball, all right, I trust that person, whoever, like you being at off the ball to be able to go to No Ceilings is because they respected the brand, and then they knew that, okay, we're getting someone who's done good things and has helped build something and is coming from a good place, because they knew how we build it and all that, and I
A
always say,
fantastic place.
yeah, and I know that how many times I said I can't do it by myself. Can't do it by myself. We build
no
the
one
brand
can.
together. You know, we build it together, and we build something that is respected by a lot of people. A lot of people like, oh, they're off the ball. Oh, yeah. You know, and it's helped other people get people on their shows because of that respectability for the brand. So, you know, you're a big part of that. And like I said, it's dope seeing your success. You're going to keep killing it. You're going to keep crushing it. And you guys are doing big things in those ceilings and all that. So continue success, my brother. This will not be the last time you be on a show. I definitely will have you on. And a lot of the guys in No Ceilings, you know, I'm going to get on back on the show as I get back to my routine and all that. But man, it's been a blast. This doesn't even feel like it's been an hour and change. It feels like, you know, it feels like we could probably go another 2-3 hours, because that's just how every time we're on, we can just talk for days and all that. But like I said, I appreciate your time, you know, and man, it's been a blast. So before we sign off, tell the people where they could find you on your social medias and any projects you got coming up with No Ceilings.
Yeah, man. So I'm on Twitter at Stephen G Hoops. You can follow No Ceilings on Twitter as well at No Ceilings NBA. The podcast that we have is 5 days a week. You know, Mondays I'm on Draft Deeper with my guy Maxwell and my guy Nathan. Nathan's been in the game for a long time, so the fact that he wanted me to be a part of Draft Deeper means a lot. We're on Mondays. Then on Tuesdays we have a show that we just debuted this year called Home and Away, where we try to bring people from other places in and like get to know them and talk basketball, talk anything really. Like it's not even restricted to basketball. I'm not hosting this upcoming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. And I got Josh Lloyd of Locked On coming on. So gonna be talking with him about
the fantasy basketball guy. The fantasy basketball guy? Yeah, he's cool.
The fantasy basketball guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
Like
he's cool.
Like the king, man. So
he's monster. He's a monster over there with the fantasy basketball. I've watched a lot of shows, and he's helped me try to, you know, with my fantasy leagues.
Yeah, he helped me actually get started in podcasting. You can hear that story on the show when I bring him on. But you know, we're going to be talking young NBA guys and all that stuff. I contribute to our website, noceilingsnba.com. Where you can subscribe absolutely free. Like there are other places that do tremendous work. And because they do tremendous work and they're so dedicated, like because life, you know, they have to make money in order
the paywall.
They got to do
Which
all
I
that
respect
stuff.
for you guys, because I think a lot of people would probably pay for you guys without a hesitation, including myself. It wouldn't bother me. But the fact that you put in a lot of work and detailed work, not just like a little, because you see a lot of people put like a little snippet, and then it's like, well, if you want to read the rest or you want to read the bigger piece, you got to pay. I respect that you guys, you know, stick with the free option and you know, do it daily.
Yeah, and to the people that pay, like not even like the slightest bit of disrespect, because a lot of these guys are doing it on their own and they invest a lot of time, effort, and energy. Like you and I both know like how much they put into that, and they pay. Like the great thing about No Ceilings is that you're hearing it from a lot of voices, and because many hands make light work, we're able to put out like premium draft content like absolutely free. So every day
I read it daily. I get my coffee and I go to my emails. I check my emails for my stuff, and then I'm like, oh, where's the No Ceilings? Who do I got to read up on? You know, what's going on? What do they think about this player or whatever? Yep. It's a daily ritual for me.
Yeah, so 6 days a week we're pumping out articles. The podcast available anywhere you get podcasts. We have shows come out 5 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we do deep dives with Nick Agar Johnson. Thursday we do the Draft Act podcast with Corey and Albert. And then on Fridays, you get the flagship No Ceilings NBA show with Tyler Metcalf and Tyler Rucker. So And again, like we're putting it out every day. All of our stuff is absolutely free. If you go to the website, you can find literally everything else that we're doing. We got links to everything. But Chris, again, man, much love, bro. I've had so much fun being on. Like, next time you hit me up, just say when it's on, where I'm already there.
Yes, sir, man. Pleasure again to have you on. And you could find me, guys, at Off the Ball Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Off the Ball Podcast, Off the Ball Network. You could like the Facebook pages, do a bunch of live content there. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Trying to be like No Sense, trying to get to the thousands. We're almost at 300. We got to take baby steps, but we're almost there. So follow us on YouTube. Give us a subscription, give us a like, and then go to offtheballnetwork.com. Got a lot of great stuff on there, and make sure to check out our sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek promo code Off the Ball Network, all caps. Get $20 off. Steven's going to use it. Tell your friends to use it. They've been a great partner with us. So, on that note, that's my guy Stephen Gillaspie. No Ceilings. Make sure to check out No Ceilings. They do some of the best. No, they do the best draft coverage out in the business. So make sure to check them out. They do tremendous stuff. Every one of their guys are tremendous. So make sure to check out the guys at No Ceilings. But on that note,
Gal.
And Gal. And Gal. No, I'm sorry. And Gal, newest member. Congratulations. She's great too. She kills it on TikTok and all that. She's
social media guru.
Yeah. That's important. That's important. The social media game and all that. She's been killing it. So yeah, I got a great team over there. But be well, be safe. Take care, guys. Peace out.
Much love.
Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.